No, I was led to Christian Science through the still small voice.
Hello, and welcome to interview number 20 of Whatever. And today, we have another special guest, Rachel Cutts. Rachel, how are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. So, Rachel, where are you from?
I live just north of Concord, New Hampshire.
And is that where you grew up?
No, I grew up in upstate New York.
Okay, great. So you're a Northeast girl.
Yeah. But I like to think that we all live in the kingdom of heaven. That's where really where we're from.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
That's my answer to that question.
Yeah. So, Rachel, what do you do?
I'm a mother, and I practice Christian Science through the Ministry of Christian Science Nursing.
Wow, that's great. We've had 2 or 3 Christian Science nurses on here before. And as I said then, you guys are the unsung heroes of our movement. So thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm. So, Rachel, did you grow up in a Christian Science Sunday school, or did you come to science later in life?
No, I was led to Christian Science through the still small voice. So I know that others are as well. I really like to remember, though, what Mrs. Eddy said. A woman came to Mrs. Eddy and said that her husband was not in science. And I love Mrs. Eddy's response, because Mrs. Eddy said, "Where, dear, where else is he? Where else could he be?" And so I really take that we're all always in science. That's really the fact. Yeah.
That's great. And you're absolutely correct, obviously. Tell us the story about your experience as a child.
Well, in line with what we're saying about how Mrs. Eddy says, where else could your husband be but in science, is that I was not raised in Christian Science, didn't know anything about it. But at a young age, I clearly heard the still small voice one day. I heard the question posed in my consciousness, what if this is a dream? And it was a very feeling like being washed over with love. It was a loving question. It caused me to ask, well, if this is a dream, what's real? And I just longed to understand what is real. And so that spiritual sense that we all have, it's just innate, that childlike spiritual sense. It's always there, and certainly was leading me. So I was in Christian Science Sunday school through the still small voice. I find that fascinating.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
But tell us the story about how you first entered a Christian Science church.
Yeah, again, hadn't heard of it. But to me, it's absolute proof that divine mind, the divine comforter, is always perfectly leading all of us and in beautiful ways. I actually have a recollection of seeing a picture of Mrs. Eddy on a cover of a book, or I'm guessing it was a reading room window. And I remember walking by, many, many, many years ago, and seeing the picture. And for some reason, I remember that. So to me, that was another proof that I was being given some sort of direction. But what the actual, what I was finally ready when I had 2 young children, and I was just utterly overwhelmed. And I had a very earnest prayer. And my prayer was that this is literally what I said to God. I said, I want to see the way Christ sees. And I meant it. I meant it with every fiber of my being. I always loved Christ Jesus. And I wanted to me, he was always a brother. There was just this feeling that there was nothing but love, and that I could follow and be led like a disciple. So I'd always felt that way. But I wanted to, now I was ready for something much more experiential. So I said this prayer. And when I said it, Paul, I was like, whew, I mean it. So I knew my life was about to change. And in 24 hours, I was in a situation where I had the evening to myself, and I just was listening as to what I should do with that time. Especially when you're a mom, when you have a little extra time, it's like, well, how would you use this, God? And I was basically shown that I was to drive in a certain direction, and I drove that way, and it was dark. And on the corner where I was at the intersection, I saw a Christian Science church all lit up. And when I looked at the sign, I heard again that still small voice saying, "Go inside."
Wow.
I did. And I was joyfully greeted by the usher there, who was just nothing but welcoming, gave me a copy of Science and Health and the periodicals. And he said, "This is going to change your life." And I was ready. I was just as ready as could be, and receptive. And so I say that the Christ who truly led me to Christian Science and in this experience. So I know that's happening for everyone.
That's awesome. I really can't add anything to that. So now we come to my favorite part of the interview. What is your whatever? What is it that you do that inspires you and helps you grow as a Christian Scientist?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I really love the experiential aspect of expressing God's love. I literally visualize, being the light of the world. And Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth." So I really love to see myself as a vessel, just expressing this light and this love in any way, in anywhere, at the supermarket checkout line, when I'm called to, I just got a wrong number. I'm getting a few of them lately. And they're drawn to a sense of peace, of Jesus. My sense of Christ Jesus is that there's just this equanimity, this sense of peace that is ever present. And he said, "I draw all men unto me." And so really that's how I see it. I see it that the Christ within me is just whomever I'm interacting with. There's just this opportunity to express the Christ. And I have met many, it's countless now, individuals who've come in one way or another, really looking for healing. And the Christ that I'm just expressing, it heals whatever someone comes with. I had a woman come to me who had a lymphoma, what would be considered lymphoma. And I said, "Would you like to be healed?" And she'd never heard of Christian Science. And through working together and just our interaction there, she was completely healed. And so it's just really watching and witnessing, as you know, the Christ in action. And I literally never know how it will come. Like this was, like through a text today. You could feel someone like sort of yearning for a sense of connection, for a sense of love and acceptance. And that's through what we would call a wrong number,
Right.
So it's happening all the time. It's a constant activity. And one of the avenues that I'm finding that happening is I was inspired to write a book called Peace of Mind Now, which it explains just a very, very, very basic process of how to sort of at the absolute foundation of prayer, which is really just yielding our thought to the divine mind and being able to experience the presence of God immediately, because the presence of God is here right now. is ever present, is behind the thoughts and the stories and sort of the ups and downs of this mortal experience, this dream, that we can at all times access that peace of God, that absolute equanimity. And that can be our constant experience. And so as I feel I was shown through Divine Mind, the simplicity of this approach, I've been able to experience a consistent state of peace of mind, no matter what comes my way. When before my feathers would get ruffled, or I'd be stressed, and then I'd get quiet and pray. It's become a consistent pray without ceasing, so that whatever sort of arises, I know what to do. I know how to handle it. And so I love sharing it with others because it can be shared universally. And so that's sort of one of the things that one of my sort of my projects, that sort of a hobby and something I just love to do, because literally the world my sense is so ready to receive and understand the Christ and really allow it to yield. There's a great yielding happening where we're really ready to follow the Christ in a very substantial way. And
I interviewed a man by the name of James Early down in New York, and he's given out over 100 textbooks over the years, and very similar countenance to yours, in that you guys are expecting to see God in action. You're expecting people to be receptive to the Christ and to truth. And those are great examples. I need to be more like that, I think. I'm sure a lot of us do too. So your example is very inspirational, Rachel. Obviously, the peace that you have, and your life demonstration of already knowing about Christian Science, really before you even stepped into a Christian Science church, is remarkable. Not uncommon, but pretty remarkable. And is there anything else before I let you go that you want to tell the subscribers that you think we should know?
Well, Paul, it's really what you're doing now, is that just expressing the Christ in all the various ways. So you are doing it. You're doing it all the time. And for all of us to know that this universal love of God is absolutely impartial and universal and for all. And so to pay attention to the ways that there'll be these, I call it like a holy encounter. There will be these sort of everyday experiences where you're being brought together simply to shine your light. It may be in something you say, but it may just be in your smile and your constant recognition and acknowledgement of the divine love that is ever present. And that heals. It heals and it draws all men unto the Christ. And Christ Jesus said, follow me. Come and follow me. And he said that I will manifest myself to you. So I completely rely on that and see that happening all the time, that manifestation of the Christ is just ever present. So really keep your eyes out, because the opportunities are abundant for really the experience of healing for all of us.
Mrs. Eddy says, let us feel the divine energy of spirit bringing us into newness of life. So that's what you're talking about, right?
And it's right now. It's right now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Rachel, you are awesome. This was a home run. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And we'll catch up down the road.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.